Stupavangsa Varnana, a piece of Sinhala literature in the period before the Common Era, describes how the Ruanvelisaya, the great stupa, was built. It is in Old Sinhala script, and its meaning is thus. The construction of the stupa was started on the Vesak full moon day at an auspicious time of Visanakatha. King Duttugamunu cleared and levelled the land on which his great-grandfather had erected a stone inscription demarcating the land for the great pagoda. As mentioned in the book, the space cleared and levelled beyond the foundation was 7 vaduryan. 1 vaduryan is equal to 31 inches. Then the giants laid granite and pulverized them by pounding with massive hammers. Then they were further fragmented by tamping the floor by tuskered elephants wearing leather-soled shoes. Blue clay was deposited on it and then overlaid with brick. Over the bricks, gravel powder was spread. Kurundu rock was put on it. Yadel, or bricks with embedded mesh, was positioned on top. Fragrant mud was then laid. A layer of quartz followed, and again another layer of stones was put upon it. Matured wood was laid over the layer of quartz. Granite tiles were laid over the floor, and a layer of clay mixed with mercury and wood-apple gum. Then an 8-inch thick copper thread was laid, and cereal, or a layer of yellow orpiment mixed with sesame oil, is poured and smoothened. Over it, a 4-inch silver thread was laid, and the foundation was thus completed. After that, on the 14th day of the month of July, the king paid obeisance to the bhikkhus and informed them about the work. Then the herald drums dispatched the message summoning the masons to convene at the city centre. There, the king addressed about 500 masons and sought their advice on how the stupa should be constructed. He listened to all what the masons said, but he was not satisfied. At that moment, a young, intrepid mason stepped forward, hailed the king, and said that he would obtain 1 amuna, or about 40 kilos of soil, pound it in a pestle with a mortar, then would remove the rough, pebbly aggregate by using a winnowing basket or kulla, then follow with grinding that soil on a grinding stone and use that soil for the work of 1 day to build the stupa. King Duttugamunu was pleased with the suggestion because it would prevent growth of grass on the stupa and it would last a long time. He agreed to what the mason said and then asked him about the shape of the pagoda. At that moment, the deity Vishwakarma took possession of the mind of the mason. Speaking through the mason as medium, he asked for a golden bowl, filled it with water and turned it upside down. A massive water bubble was effected, and the mason said that the shape of the stupa would be as this shape of the bubble. The king was delighted and gifted the mason 2 pairs of suits valued at 1,000 gold coins or masurang, a jewel called purnaka worth thousands, a pair of gold shoes worth 1,000, and 12,000 coins as currency, masurang, as well as a house in a good location replete with a fertile paddy land nearby. There is further information available if you wish to learn of it as regards the construction of these veritable skyscraper-like stupas of the olden days. The stupa was built centered on sand and paved compounds. Bricks of different shapes were made for the construction of various parts or sections of the pagoda. Evidence for them was found from Pabbatarama temple of Nadigamvila, which was built in the 3rd century BCE by Viceroy Yuvaraja Mahanaga, which is the only stupa in the country which is onion-shaped, and the stupa at Pabbata Rock Temple in Namalpokuna Dimulagala belongs in the age of Polonnarva. The bricks have remained and not perished in the intervening time, so we can identify the different shapes. Parts of the stupa are named as Pesavalalu, Stupa Garbha, Siuraskotua, Devata Kotua, Kot Karella, Kota, and Manikya. However, instead of Kot Karella, Kota, and Manikya, the old stupas had a pillar and an umbrella or chhatra on top of it. The small stupa situated at Pabbatarame in Namalpokana is very important archaeologically because it shows the ruins of a cone-shaped series of chhatras found there. Archaeological studies have identified sources that describe the inside of the stupas. Symbolically, the center of the stupa was built like the mythical Muru Parvata, a rock surrounded by deities in the celestial realm and also cobras in their heavenly abode. The sacred relics of the Buddha was placed at the topmost place of the stupa. The inner walls of the stupa were decorated with frescoes. There are colorful paintings similar to those found in Sigiriya and at the Tivankapilamage inside the Mahiyangana stupa. The shape of the ancient stupa can be identified from the only stupa of that particular shape preserved with a chhatra atop it at Hettikatya at Ranpatwala, Kahatakastigilia. The archaeologists say that the oldest Vahalkada identified so far is the stone Vahalkada found at Kantaka Chaitya at Mihintale. The Vahalkada made with limestone includes images of guardian deities, lions, elephants, birds, punkalasa pots, bunches of flowers, images of females, and also decorated with colorful paintings. They show a high level of artistic accomplishment, with depictions in the style of realistic art. The layers of plaster that bound granite with bricks can be traced to various eras. Despite the passage of time, their strength in maintaining that bond has not perished. The stone pillars of Tuparame Anuradhapura provide evidence to identify the shape of a stupaghara, which is a canopied housing for stupas. Vahalkada styles were added to the stupa during the medieval Polonnaruwa period. Various asymmetric parts were added to stupas in that time. Evidence of such can be found in stupas at Kirivihara in Polonnaruwa, Rankotvihara and Pabaluvihara. At first, stupas were meant as reliquaries, where the ashes of the dead were deposited. Later, the stupa became part of a great architectural tradition and was to become the repository of the relics of the Buddha. Stupa construction began about 2 millennia ago with the great Sanchi stupa in ancient India. However, the great stupa of Sri Lanka, Ruwanvelisaya, built by King Dutugamanu in the 2nd century CE, was the tallest such monument in the world of that time. The world-famous man-made phenomenon such as the Great Pyramid of Khufu in Giza, Egypt, was of an even earlier period. Nevertheless, among the sacred monuments even by the 3rd century CE, the Jetavana Stupa of Anuradhapura was the tallest construction of brick in the world. According to information in the Tupavansa, we can understand the rationale behind the wonderful constructions by the Sinhalese. They were dependent on sound economics, the selection of the best venues, choosing the best technicians, which tested their training and skills. The spiritual guardians, namely the Buddhist monks, were consulted where necessary, and the kings took firm and timely decisions. All evidence indicates that these builders were Sinhalese within the kingdoms. Although they were engaged in technology, they were primarily focused on agrarian pursuits. This explains why King Dutugamanu presented the talented constructor and designer gifts that included a house and a paddy field. This establishes the fundamental identity of the ancient Sinhalese.